Right.
I think that's a scientific question to then investigate all
because you say we don't have inherent ideas. For example, no kid is born believing in a God. That is something that is inputted.
Yes.
But are we born with certain moods, or are we born with certain talents or characteristics that will differentiate us in the long run into becoming a piano player or a medicine doctor? Does she make any differentiation in between having certain talents that could come from what your parents or your grandparents did before? Like, for example, can you tell, like, if you come from a family where there are actors or actresses, and then the kids also go into that business road, you can never tell, was it the environment that they were exposed to or not, right?
I think it's really important what Onkar said before about how Ayn Rand's view of what free will is very distinctive, and that what she thinks we have control over is whether we are going to engage in active reality-oriented cognition or not. And that's so it's certainly not the view that we have direct control over everything in our life. We're obviously born with a lot that's out of our control: who our parents were, where they're from, what their physical characteristics were. And I mean, it's an interesting open question, I think, of whether certain kinds of personality traits, tendencies to have certain kinds of mood fall into that or not. What's important is what you do with that. And in one of the papers by my friend who's a psychologist, she gives a really interesting example here. So imagine you have a couple of identical twins, and for whatever reason, some combination of their genetics and their upbringing up until that point have made it such that they're both disposed to get particularly angry in certain situations. So she imagines both of the twins being berated by a teacher, let's say, and they're both tempted to lash out against the teacher. And maybe up until this time, that disposition is not something they can control. Well, but even still, they have the choice to think about whether it's a good idea to react in that way or not. And they both probably have some glimmer of the notion that if they were to act out, the consequences wouldn't be too good. But let's say one of them, it occurs to her, but she ignores it and goes ahead and lashes out, and then she's punished, and then she has to come up with new rationalizations for why she's being mistreated, versus the other who's similarly tempted, but who takes enough time to realize, wait, if I do that, it's going to be worse than if I don't, and figures out a way to handle it better. Now, you can imagine those two twins starting from a very similar place in life, but ending up on very different paths, especially because each choice they make ends up, exercising their brain differently in one direction or another, and they end up developing different kinds of character, different kinds of personality in the long run because of that, even if they start in the same place.
Now, in that context, where I completely agree, I mean, at the end is, okay, you're given a certain pool of genes and choices that you didn't make. Who are your parents? Where are you growing up? But at the end, it's the decisions that you make along the run that will determine who you are.